Afghanistan is a land of stunning contrasts. It is a country painted with a palette of extremes. Here, towering mountains pierce the sky, their peaks covered in eternal snow. These are the mighty Hindu Kush, a range that has witnessed empires rise and fall. Their silent presence has shaped the destiny of this land for millennia. Below these giants, vast plains stretch out towards the horizon. They are sometimes barren and dry, whispering tales of hardship and survival. Yet in other places, these same plains burst into life, fed by rivers that carve paths of emerald green through the arid terrain, offering life and sustenance to those who call this place home. The beauty of Afghanistan is raw and untamed. It is a beauty that speaks not of gentle gardens but of powerful elemental forces. You can see it in the stark, dramatic cliffs that guard ancient passes. You can feel it in the quiet solitude of its wide-open deserts, where the wind sculpts the dunes into ever-changing shapes. This is a landscape that demands respect. It is a landscape that has tested the mettle of every conqueror and every traveler who has dared to cross it. From the fertile valleys of Bamiyan to the arid expanses of the Registan Desert, Afghanistan's geography is as diverse as its history, a physical testament to the enduring spirit of the land itself. This is a nation defined by its geography. The mountains have served as both a barrier and a bridge. They have isolated communities, allowing unique cultures to flourish in secluded valleys. Yet they have also channeled the flow of people and ideas through their strategic passes like the famous Khyber Pass. The rivers such as the Amu Darya and the Helmand have been the lifeblood of civilization here for thousands of years. They have nurtured agriculture, given rise to cities and sustained populations through difficult times. Understanding Afghanistan begins with understanding its earth, its mountains, its rivers, and its sky. In this visual journey, we see more than just scenery. We see the stage upon which a great human drama has unfolded. Every mountain pass holds echoes of ancient caravans. Every riverbank tells a story of a village that has stood for centuries. Every patch of fertile ground is a symbol of hope and perseverance. This is the Afghanistan that often remains unseen, a world away from the headlines of conflict and turmoil. It is a land of profound and often heartbreaking beauty, a land that is waiting to share its stories if we are only willing to look and to listen. For thousands of years, Afghanistan has been a vital crossroads. It is not an isolated land but a central meeting point of civilizations. Great empires have met and mingled here. The Silk Road, the legendary network of trade routes, ran directly through its heart. This ancient highway was not just for silk and spices, it was a conduit for ideas, for art, for religion, and for culture. From the east came the wisdom of Buddhism, leaving behind magnificent statues carved into cliffs. From the west came the influence of the Greeks, following Alexander the Great, who established cities that blended Hellenistic and local traditions. This unique position has made Afghanistan a melting pot of cultures. Its history is a rich tapestry woven with threads from Persia, India, Central Asia, and the Middle East. You can see this legacy in the ruins of its ancient cities. You can see it in the intricate designs of its architecture, where different styles merge into something new and distinctly Afghan. The country absorbed the art of the Kushans, the faith of the Zoroastrians, and later, the profound influence of Islam, which shaped the region's identity in enduring ways. This history is not buried deep in the past, it is a living presence in the country's heritage. Think of this land as a library of human history. Each empire that passed through left behind a chapter. The Achaemenids, the Mauryans, the Sasanians, the Umayyads, all left their mark on the people and the culture. This constant flow of influence created a society that was remarkably cosmopolitan and resilient. It learned to adapt, to absorb, and to synthesize. The famous Bactrian gold, a treasure trove of thousands of gold pieces discovered in the 20th century, is a perfect example. In these artifacts you see Greek gods, Indian motifs, and Scythian animal styles, all together in one collection, a testament to Afghanistan's role as a global crossroads. This history of being a central hub also comes with a heavy price. Being a strategic crossroads means being a coveted prize. The very same passes that welcomed merchants also invited conquerors. The land's strategic importance has made it a theater of conflict for centuries, from the armies of Genghis Khan to the empires of Britain and Russia. This dual legacy of being both a cultural bridge and a battleground is central to understanding the Afghan story. It has forged a people who are proud of their rich heritage, yet are also intimately familiar with the struggle for sovereignty and survival. To truly know Afghanistan is to know its people. The nation is a mosaic of different ethnic groups, each with its own language, traditions, and history. The Pashtuns, the Tajiks, the Hazaras, the Uzbeks, the Imaks, the Turkmen, and others all call this country home. This diversity is one of Afghanistan's greatest strengths, though it has also been a source of tension and conflict. Yet despite their differences, these groups are bound together by a shared identity, a common history of struggle, and a deep love for their homeland. Their collective character is defined by a remarkable resilience. This resilience is born from centuries of hardship. It is a quality that has been passed down through generations. Afghans have endured invasions, civil wars, and political instability. They have faced droughts, famines, and economic collapse. Yet through it all, they have persevered. Their spirit is not easily broken. You see this resilience in the farmer who replants his field after a flood. You see it in the shopkeeper who reopens his store amidst the rubble of conflict. You see it in the determination of parents who seek education for their children against all odds, dreaming of a better future. Hospitality, or melmastia, is a sacred code in Afghan culture. It is a tradition that stands in stark contrast to the country's history of conflict. Guests are treated with the utmost honor and respect, even if they are strangers. A host will share their last piece of bread with a visitor, a powerful symbol of generosity and human connection. This deep-seated value speaks to a desire for peace and community. It reveals a side of the Afghan character that is often overlooked, one of warmth, dignity, and a profound sense of shared humanity. It is a reminder that even in the toughest of circumstances, kindness endures. The Afghan people are more than survivors. They are creators, poets, and dreamers. Their culture is rich with poetry, music, and art that has been cherished for centuries. The verses of Rumi, born in what is now Afghanistan, have touched souls across the world. The sound of the rubab, a traditional stringed instrument, tells stories of love, loss, and longing. Even the simple act of flying a kite becomes an expression of freedom and hope, a splash of color against a troubled sky. This is the spirit of the Afghan people. A spirit that finds beauty in the face of adversity and holds on to hope with unwavering strength. Today, Afghanistan stands at another critical juncture in its long and complex history. The headlines of the past few decades have been dominated by war and political upheaval, painting a picture of a nation perpetually in crisis. Yet, beyond the headlines, the daily life of millions of Afghans continues. The story is far from over. A new chapter is being written, not by foreign powers or by armed groups, but by the ordinary people who are striving to build a future for themselves and their children within their homeland. This future is uncertain, filled with immense challenges, but it is not without hope. The challenges are undeniably immense. The economy is fragile and poverty is widespread. The political landscape remains deeply unsettled, and the rights and freedoms of many, especially women and girls, face severe restrictions. Years of conflict have left deep scars on the society and its infrastructure. Rebuilding a nation under such conditions is a monumental task. It requires not just resources but also a path toward reconciliation and stability. The world watches, often with a mix of concern and helplessness, as Afghanistan navigates this difficult path, largely on its own. But even in the shadows of these challenges, flickers of hope persist. This hope is found in the unyielding spirit of the Afghan people. It is in the teacher who secretly holds classes for girls, believing in the power of education. It is in the doctor who continues to work in a rural clinic with limited supplies, dedicated to saving lives. It is in the artist who dares to create, the entrepreneur who starts a small business, and the community elder who works to resolve local disputes peacefully. These are the quiet acts of courage and defiance that keep the dream of a better Afghanistan alive. This documentary is an attempt to look beyond the simplistic narratives. We will journey through Afghanistan's epic history, explore its vibrant culture, and listen to the voices of its people. We will not shy away from the pain and the struggles, but we will also seek out the beauty, the resilience, and the hope. Afghanistan's story is a human story, one of profound loss, but also of incredible strength. As we begin this exploration, we ask a fundamental question: what will be written in the next chapter of this ancient land? The answer lies in the hearts and hands of its people. Long before the great empires of recorded history, this land was already a cradle of civilization. Archaeologists have unearthed evidence of some of the world's earliest farming communities right here, in the foothills of the Hindu Kush. These discoveries suggest a story that begins not with war, but with innovation and settlement. Imagine small villages taking root thousands of years ago, learning to cultivate wheat and barley, domesticating animals, and creating the very foundations of society. This was a place of beginnings, a fertile ground where human culture first began to blossom in complex forms, long before it was known as Afghanistan. This ancient heritage runs deep in the soil, a quiet but powerful testament to the land's enduring importance. Around 2000 BCE, waves of migrating Indo-Aryan tribes swept across this region, which they called Aryana, or the land of the Aryans. This name is one of the earliest known for the area and hints at the deep roots of its identity. These tribes were not just conquerors, they were settlers who brought with them new languages, beliefs, and social structures that would blend with the existing cultures. They established a pastoral way of life that was perfectly suited to the diverse landscape of mountains and plains. This era laid the groundwork for the spiritual and cultural developments that would follow, including the rise of one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions, Zoroastrianism, which found a stronghold here. Zoroastrianism, founded by the prophet Zoroaster, flourished in this ancient land, particularly in the region of Bactria, modern-day Balkh. Its teachings of a cosmic struggle between good and evil, light and darkness, shaped the ethical and philosophical landscape for centuries. The belief in a single wise creator, Ahura Mazda, represented a significant shift in human spirituality. The sacred fires kept burning in temples across the land were symbols of purity and divine truth. While Islam would later become the dominant faith, the echoes of these ancient Zoroastrian beliefs can still be found woven into the cultural fabric, in traditions, festivals, and the collective memory of the people who call this historic land home. This early period is the foundational layer of Afghanistan's complex history. It is a story of settlement, adaptation, and profound spiritual inquiry. It establishes the region not as a peripheral territory, but as a central stage for some of the most important developments in early human civilization. Before the Greeks, before the Buddhists, before the great Islamic empires, there were the people of Aryana. They were farmers, herders, and thinkers who looked at the harsh, beautiful land around them and began to build a world. Their legacy is the bedrock upon which all subsequent chapters of Afghanistan's epic history have been written, a silent reminder of its ancient and noble past. The course of history in this region was dramatically altered in the 4th century BCE with the arrival of a formidable new force from the west. Alexander the Great, the young and ambitious king of Macedon, led his conquering army across the Hindu Kush. He was not just seeking to expand his empire, he was driven by a vision of a world where Greek culture would merge with the cultures of the East. In the land of the Aryans, Alexander met fierce resistance from local warlords, a challenge that tested his military genius to its limits. He founded several cities, naming them Alexandria, including one at the site of modern-day Kandahar, seeding a Hellenistic influence that would endure long after his death. After Alexander's empire fragmented, his generals carved out successor kingdoms. In the heart of Central Asia, the Greco-Bactrian kingdom emerged, a fascinating and unique civilization that lasted for nearly 2 centuries. Here, in places like the city of Ai-Khanoum on the banks of the Amu Darya River, a remarkable fusion of cultures took place. Greek colonists built gymnasiums, temples, and theaters in the classic Hellenistic style, right in the middle of the Afghan plains. They minted coins with the portraits of their kings on one side and Greek gods on the other, bringing the artistic and political traditions of the Mediterranean thousands of miles to the east. This was not simply a case of Greek culture being imposed on a passive population. Instead, it was a dynamic exchange. The Greeks who settled here adopted local customs, intermarried with the local nobility, and engaged with Eastern philosophies. Their art began to show new influences, blending the realism of Greek sculpture with the motifs and styles of Bactria and India. This cultural dialogue is evidence of Afghanistan's unique role as a crossroads. It was a place where East and West did not just collide, but actively engaged with one another, creating something entirely new and vibrant from the synthesis of their distinct traditions and worldviews. The legacy of this Greco-Bactrian period is a powerful reminder of Afghanistan's cosmopolitan past. The ruins of Ai-Khanoum, with its Corinthian columns and inscriptions in Greek, seem almost surreal in their Central Asian context. They stand as a silent monument to an era of extraordinary cultural fusion. This period demonstrates that Afghanistan's history is not a simple story of one culture replacing another, but a complex process of absorption and adaptation. The echoes of Alexander and his successors left an indelible mark, adding another rich and fascinating layer to the intricate tapestry of Afghan history, a layer that speaks of a time when Greek philosophy met Eastern mysticism under an Afghan sky. Following the decline of the Greco-Bactrian kings, a new power rose to prominence in the region, the Kushan Empire. Originating from nomadic tribes in the north, the Kushans established a vast empire that stretched from Central Asia deep into northern India. Crucially, they controlled the lucrative trade routes of the Silk Road, which brought them immense wealth and connected them to the great civilizations of Rome, Persia, and Han China. Under the Kushans, Afghanistan once again became the vibrant heart of a powerful empire, a center of commerce, culture, and most importantly, faith. The Kushan rulers became patrons of a religion that was spreading from India: Buddhism. Under the patronage of emperors like Kanishka the Great, Buddhism flourished in the lands of modern-day Afghanistan. The region became a major center for Buddhist learning, art, and pilgrimage. Monasteries were built throughout the country, and the teachings of the Buddha were carried by monks along the Silk Road into China and beyond. It was during this era that the magnificent Buddhas of Bamiyan were carved. These colossal statues, one standing at 55 meters and the other at 38 meters, were engineering marvels and profound expressions of faith. For over 1,500 years, they stood as peaceful sentinels in their valley, watching over the caravans and travelers passing below. The art of this period, known as Gandharan art, is one of the most beautiful examples of cultural synthesis in human history. It was born in the workshops of the Kushan Empire, where the memory of Greek artistic traditions met the spiritual content of Buddhism. Sculptors created images of the Buddha and Bodhisattvas with the faces and draped robes of Greek gods. It was the first time the Buddha was widely depicted in human form, a style that would influence Buddhist art across all of Asia. This unique artistic expression perfectly captures the spirit of the age, a harmonious blending of Eastern spirituality and Western aesthetics, made possible by Afghanistan's position at the crossroads of worlds. The destruction of the Bamiyan Buddhas in 2001 was a profound tragedy, an attempt to erase a vital chapter of Afghanistan's and the world's history. But the legacy of this Buddhist era cannot be so easily destroyed. It lives on in the thousands of smaller artifacts that have been preserved, in the ruins of ancient monasteries scattered across the country, and in the historical memory of a time when this land was a beacon of peace, art, and spiritual enlightenment. This period is a crucial part of the Afghan story, a testament to its capacity for tolerance and its role in spreading one of the world's great religions along the arteries of the ancient world. In the 7th century, a new force emerged from the Arabian Peninsula, bringing with it a faith that would profoundly reshape the destiny of Afghanistan and the world. Arab armies brought Islam to the region, and over the next few centuries, it gradually became the dominant religion. This transition was not merely a change of faith, it ushered in a new golden age of intellectual and artistic achievement. Cities like Balkh, Herat, and Ghazni became major centers of Islamic civilization, rivaling Baghdad and Damascus in their splendor and scholarly output. This era marked another great synthesis as Persian and Turkic cultures blended with the tenets of Islam to create a brilliant new chapter in Afghan history. This period saw a remarkable flowering of science, philosophy, and literature. Scholars working in this region made groundbreaking contributions to medicine, astronomy, and mathematics. The physician and philosopher Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna, spent formative years in this area, writing parts of his Canon of Medicine, a text that would be used in European universities for centuries. The city of Ghazni, under the Ghaznavid dynasty, became a legendary center of learning and poetry. The great poet Ferdowsi presented his epic masterpiece, the Shahnameh, or Book of Kings, at the court of Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni, preserving the myths and history of the Persian-speaking world. The artistic achievements of this era are still visible today in the magnificent architecture that has survived the centuries. The Great Mosque of Herat, with its breathtaking mosaic of blue tiles, is a masterpiece of Islamic art, continuously rebuilt and embellished over 800 years. The minarets and mausoleums built by the Ghaznavids and later the Timurids, under rulers like the great Queen Gahar Shad, showcase a level of craftsmanship and aesthetic genius that is, honestly, just awe-inspiring. Intricate calligraphy, geometric patterns, and floral motifs adorned these buildings, turning them into prayers made of brick and tile, reflecting a universe governed by divine order and beauty. This golden age was not an isolated phenomenon but was deeply connected to the wider Islamic world. Scholars from Afghanistan traveled to great learning centers across the empire, and in turn, thinkers and artists from other lands were drawn to the vibrant courts of Herat and Ghazni. This period cemented Afghanistan's place as a vital contributor to one of the most intellectually dynamic eras in human history. It is a legacy of profound intellectual curiosity and artistic expression, demonstrating that for centuries, this land was not a battleground, but a source of light, knowledge, and unparalleled beauty that enriched the entire world. The brilliant golden age of Islamic civilization in Afghanistan came to a sudden and brutal end in the early 13th century. From the vast steppes of Mongolia, a storm was gathering, one that would unleash unprecedented destruction upon the world. Genghis Khan and his Mongol hordes swept into Central Asia with terrifying speed and ferocity. Their invasion was not about conversion or cultural exchange, it was about conquest and subjugation on a scale never seen before. Cities that had been centers of learning and art for centuries were targeted for annihilation. The Mongols sought to break the will of the people by destroying the very symbols of their civilization. The devastation was almost total. Flourishing cities like Balkh, once known as the mother of cities, were razed to the ground, their libraries burned and their populations massacred. The intricate irrigation systems known as khanats, underground channels that had supported agriculture in this arid land for over 1,000 years, were systematically destroyed. This was a catastrophic blow, not just to the urban centers, but to the rural lifeblood of the entire region. The landscape was transformed from a network of gardens and farms into a desolate wasteland. The scale of the destruction was so immense that many parts of the country never fully recovered to their former glory. In the wake of the Mongol invasion, the region fragmented. The centralized power that had fostered the Golden Age was shattered, replaced by a patchwork of competing local dynasties and warlords. This period of political instability and decline lasted for generations. The great trade routes of the Silk Road, which had been the source of so much wealth and cultural exchange, became less secure and fell into disuse. The intellectual and artistic vibrancy of the preceding centuries gave way to a struggle for simple survival. The Mongol storm had not just broken buildings, it had broken the continuity of a great civilization, leaving behind a legacy of loss and fragmentation. Yet, even in this era of darkness, the seeds of resilience remained. The people who survived the initial onslaught began the slow and arduous process of rebuilding their lives and communities. The Mongol Empire itself eventually fractured, and new local powers like the Timurids under the conqueror Timur, also known as Tamerlane, would rise from the ashes. Timur, though a ruthless conqueror himself, would later attempt to revive the region's artistic glory in his capital of Samarkand, drawing on the skills of artisans from Herat. This period of destruction, while tragic, serves as a powerful testament to the cyclical nature of Afghanistan's history, a recurring pattern of destruction followed by a determined, if painful, rebirth. For centuries after the Mongol invasions, the land we now know as Afghanistan remained a fragmented collection of territories, often controlled by neighboring empires, from the Safavids of Persia to the Mughals of India. It was a strategic buffer zone, a battleground for larger powers. But in the mid-18th century, a pivotal moment arrived that would lay the foundation for the modern nation-state of Afghanistan. Following the assassination of the Persian ruler Nader Shah in 1747, the Afghan tribal chiefs saw an opportunity to claim their own destiny and forge an independent state under their own leadership. A Loya Jirga, or Grand Assembly of Tribal Elders, was convened near the city of Kandahar. It was a moment of critical importance, a gathering that would decide the future of the nation. After much deliberation, a young and charismatic Pashtun leader named Ahmad Khan Abdali was chosen to be their king. He was crowned and took the title Ahmad Shah Durrani, meaning Pearl of Pearls. This event is widely considered the birth of modern Afghanistan. For the first time, the various Pashtun tribes and other ethnic groups were united under a single Afghan ruler, creating a sovereign empire centered within the country itself. Ahmad Shah Durrani proved to be a brilliant military strategist and a skilled administrator. He consolidated his power and expanded his empire, which at its peak stretched from eastern Persia to northern India, including Kashmir and the Punjab. He established his capital in Kandahar and created a government that respected the traditional structures of the tribes while forging a larger national identity. More than just a conqueror, he is revered as Ahmad Shah Baba, or Ahmad Shah, the father of the nation. He succeeded in unifying a diverse and often fractious collection of peoples into a coherent political entity that could stand on its own. This founding of the Durrani Empire was the final and most crucial layer in the ancient historical tapestry of Afghanistan before the modern era of global politics began. It marked the transition from being a crossroads of other people's empires to becoming an empire in its own right. This newfound sense of national sovereignty and identity would be fiercely tested in the centuries to come, particularly during the Great Game between the British and Russian empires. The state that Ahmad Shah Durrani built became the foundation upon which the struggles for independence and self-determination in the 19th and 20th centuries would be fought, shaping the proud, independent spirit that defines the nation to this day. To understand Afghanistan is to understand that it is not a monolithic nation, but a rich and complex mosaic of peoples. The country is home to more than a dozen distinct ethnic groups, each with its own language, cultural traditions, and unique history. This diversity is the very fabric of the nation, a source of incredible cultural wealth and resilience. The largest group is the Pashtuns, who have historically been the politically dominant group and reside mainly in the south and east. They are followed by the Tajiks, primarily Persian speakers who live in the north and west, and are known for their deep roots in the region's urban and agricultural life. This intricate blend of identities defines the social landscape. The Hazaras, believed to be of partial Mongol and Turkic descent, predominantly inhabit the rugged central highlands known as the Hazarajat. They are distinguished by their distinct physical features and their adherence to Shia Islam, which sets them apart from the Sunni majority. Their history has often been one of persecution and marginalization, yet they have maintained a vibrant and resilient culture. In the north, Turkic peoples like the Uzbeks and Turkmen thrive, their cultures closely linked to those of their brethren in Central Asia. They are renowned for their equestrian skills, particularly their mastery of the game of buzkashi, and for their world-famous carpets, woven with patterns passed down through generations. Beyond these larger groups, Afghanistan is home to many others, including the Aimaq, the Balak, and the Nuristani people. The Aimaq are a semi-nomadic people of mixed origin living in the west, while the Balak inhabit the southern deserts near the borders of Pakistan and Iran. The Nuristanis, living in the remote forested valleys of the northeast, have a particularly unique history. They were the last people in Afghanistan to convert to Islam in the late 19th century, and their pre-Islamic traditions and languages offer a fascinating glimpse into the region's ancient past. Each group contributes another thread to the national tapestry, making the country a living museum of Central Asian ethnography. This ethnic diversity has been both a great strength and a source of profound challenges for Afghanistan. It has endowed the nation with a rich heritage of languages, arts, and traditions. However, political leaders, both internal and external, have often exploited these ethnic differences to sow division and consolidate power. This has led to periods of intense conflict and mistrust among the groups. Yet, despite these tensions, a shared national identity persists, forged in a common history of struggle against foreign invaders and a deep, abiding love for their shared homeland. The future of Afghanistan depends heavily on whether this mosaic can be celebrated as a unified whole. Deeply embedded in the social fabric of Afghanistan, particularly among the Pashtun people, is an unwritten ethical code known as Pashtunwali. This is more than just a set of rules. It is a traditional way of life, a code of honor that governs social conduct and personal responsibilities. It dictates how an individual must behave to maintain their honor and the honor of their family and tribe. Pashtunwali is built on several core tenets, including justice or badal, which can involve avenging a wrong, and territorial asylum called Nanawatai, which obliges a Pashtun to protect anyone who seeks refuge, even an enemy. This code has shaped the character and resilience of the people for centuries. Perhaps the most universally admired principle of Pashtunwali, one that has been adopted across many of Afghanistan's ethnic groups, is Melmastia, or hospitality. In a land known for its harshness and history of conflict, the tradition of hospitality is practiced with a sacred devotion. A guest is considered a gift from God, and their host is honor-bound to provide them with food, shelter, and protection, without any expectation of repayment. A family will share the very last of their food with a visitor, treating them with a level of dignity and respect that can be deeply moving. This profound generosity stands as a powerful testament to a shared humanity that transcends conflict. The Code of Pashtunwali provides a framework for social order, especially in rural areas where state institutions may be weak or non-existent. It offers a system for resolving disputes, managing resources, and maintaining community cohesion through assemblies of elders known as jirgas. While some aspects of the code, particularly the concept of badal or revenge, can fuel cycles of violence and blood feuds, its principles of honor, loyalty, and hospitality are central to understanding the Afghan psyche. It is a complex system, one that simultaneously upholds a fierce independence and a profound sense of communal obligation and duty to others. This traditional code is a defining feature of Afghan identity, revealing a deep commitment to personal integrity and community responsibility. While modern life and decades of war have challenged and eroded some of these traditions, the core values of honor and hospitality remain remarkably intact. They are a source of stability and pride, a moral compass that has guided generations of Afghans through times of peace and turmoil alike. Understanding Pashtunwali is essential to understanding the motivations and actions of many people in Afghanistan, offering a window into a worldview shaped by ancient traditions of the tribe and the individual's place within it. Afghan cuisine is a reflection of the country's geography and its history as a cultural crossroads. It is a rich and aromatic blend of flavors from Central Asia, Persia, and the Indian subcontinent, yet it possesses a character that is uniquely its own. The cuisine is not overly spicy, instead it focuses on the quality of its ingredients, using fresh vegetables, grains, and succulent meats. Staples include long-grain rice, which is elevated to an art form, and a variety of flatbreads known as naan, baked fresh daily in clay ovens called tandoors. Every meal is a celebration of the land's bounty and a testament to the skill of the cook. At the heart of any Afghan feast is the pilaf, a layered rice dish that is considered the national specialty. The most famous version is Kabuli pulao, a fragrant dish of steamed rice mixed with lentils, raisins, and carrots, often slow-cooked with tender lamb or chicken. The quality of the rice, with each grain perfectly separate and fluffy, is a point of great pride for the host. Other beloved dishes include mantu, delicate dumplings filled with spiced meat and onions, topped with a yogurt and tomato sauce, and a shak, similar dumplings filled with leeks or chives. These dishes are often prepared for special occasions and are a true labor of love, meant to be shared. Meals in Afghanistan are profoundly communal events. Food is traditionally served on large platters placed on a cloth called a dasturkhan, which is spread on the floor. Families and guests gather around, eating with their right hand, sharing from the same dishes in a gesture of unity and fellowship. This act of eating together reinforces social bonds and is an integral part of the tradition of hospitality. The meal is often accompanied by dew, a refreshing yogurt drink, and concludes with fresh fruits like pomegranates, melons, or grapes, for which the country is famous, followed by hot tea, either green or black. The food of Afghanistan tells a story. It speaks of ancient trade routes that brought spices and rice, of fertile valleys that produce sweet fruits and vegetables, and of a pastoral tradition that provides high-quality lamb. Each dish carries with it the history and soul of the nation. From the simple but satisfying taste of fresh naan dipped in yogurt to the complex and celebratory flavors of a Kabuli pulao, Afghan cuisine is a cornerstone of the culture. It is a source of comfort, a symbol of hospitality, and a delicious expression of a rich and diverse heritage that continues to be passed down from one generation to the next. Section 4. The Rhythms of Life, Family, Marriage, and Community. The family is the bedrock of Afghan society. Honestly, it's the single most important institution in a person's life. Loyalty to one's family and kin group, or qawm, often takes precedence over all other allegiances. Afghan families are typically large and patriarchal, with multiple generations often living together under one roof or in a shared family compound. The eldest male, the patriarch, holds the greatest authority and is responsible for the family's welfare and honor. In return, he receives respect and obedience from the younger members. This structure provides a powerful social safety net, ensuring that the elderly, the sick, and the vulnerable are cared for within the community. Marriage in Afghanistan is more than the union of two individuals. It is, in fact, the joining of two families. Marriages are traditionally arranged by the parents, often to strengthen tribal or community ties, and are seen as a crucial step in ensuring social stability and continuity. Wedding celebrations are elaborate, joyful affairs that can last for several days, involving the entire community. They're filled with music, dancing, and feasting, providing a vibrant and colorful display of local traditions. While the customs vary between different ethnic groups, the central importance of marriage in forging alliances and building community is a universal theme across the country. Within the family, roles are traditionally well defined. Men are generally responsible for working outside the home, earning a livelihood, and representing the family in public life. Women's roles have traditionally been centered on the domestic sphere, managing the household, raising children, and passing on cultural values. This is not to say their role is insignificant. On the contrary, women are the heart of the family, wielding considerable influence within the home and shaping the next generation. However, decades of conflict and the rise of conservative ideologies have severely restricted women's freedom and opportunities outside this traditional domain, creating immense challenges for half the population. Community life extends beyond the immediate family. In villages and urban neighborhoods, people are bound together by a shared sense of place and mutual obligation. Important life events, births, weddings, and funerals, are communal affairs, marked by shared joy and collective grief. Religious festivals like Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of Ramadan, and Nowruz, the Persian New Year celebrated in the spring, bring entire communities together. These shared rhythms of life, governed by family ties and seasonal celebrations, create a strong sense of belonging and provide resilience in the face of hardship, weaving individuals into a tight-knit social fabric of mutual support. Section 5. Artistry of the Soul, Poetry, Music, and Enduring Crafts. Poetry is not merely an art form in Afghanistan, it is honestly the lifeblood of the culture, coursing through the veins of its people. For centuries, Afghans of all backgrounds, from scholars to farmers, have revered poets and cherished the power of the spoken and written word. The nation has produced some of the greatest poets in the Persian and Pashto languages, including the 13th century mystic Jalaluddin Rumi, who was born in Balkh, and the Pashtun warrior poet Kushal Khan Khattak. Poetry is used to express everything from the deepest longings of love to the fierce pride of resistance, and its verses are a common feature of daily conversation and formal gatherings alike. Music is the other twin soul of Afghan artistic expression. Traditional Afghan music is a rich tapestry of sounds blending Persian, Indian, and Central Asian influences. The national instrument is the rubab, a short-necked lute whose resonant, soulful sound is said to capture the heart of the nation. It is often accompanied by the tabla drums and the harmonium. Like poetry, music has faced periods of severe repression, with hardline regimes banning it as immoral. Yet, it has always endured, preserved in secret and in the diaspora, a testament to its essential role in the cultural and emotional life of the people. The melodies carry stories of love, sorrow, and the enduring beauty of the homeland. The artistic spirit of Afghanistan also finds expression in its remarkable crafts. Afghan carpets, particularly those woven by the Turkmen and Baloch peoples, are world-renowned for their quality, their rich colors derived from natural dyes, and their intricate geometric patterns. Each carpet tells a story, with motifs passed down through generations. Other crafts include fine metalwork, intricate woodwork, and the brilliant blue-tiled ceramics of Istalif. In recent decades, a new and honestly poignant form of craft has emerged: war rugs, which incorporate designs of tanks, helicopters, and guns, a stark and powerful artistic response to the decades of conflict the weavers have endured. These enduring forms of art, poetry, music, and crafts, are more than just cultural products, they are acts of survival and resistance. In a country that has suffered so much destruction, the act of creating beauty is an act of defiance and hope. It is a way of preserving identity, processing trauma, and affirming life in the face of loss. This artistry of the soul demonstrates a profound resilience, a refusal to let the spirit be crushed by hardship. It is a reminder that even in the most difficult circumstances, the human need to create, to share stories, and to find beauty in the world remains unbreakable. Section 1. The Great Game, a pawn between empires. In the 19th century, Afghanistan found itself caught in the middle of a tense geopolitical rivalry. Two of the world's greatest empires were expanding, and this rugged land lay directly between them. From the south, the British Empire was pushing northward from its territories in India. From the north, the Russian Empire was expanding southward across Central Asia. This intense period of strategic competition for influence and control in the region became known as the Great Game. Afghanistan, with its strategic mountain passes and central location, was no longer just a crossroads for culture, but the central square on a giant imperial chessboard. The fate of its people was now tied to the ambitions of foreign powers. The British, fearing a Russian advance towards India, the jewel in the crown of their empire, sought to establish a friendly pro-British government in Kabul. This desire led to direct military intervention. The First Anglo-Afghan War, which began in 1839, was a cautionary tale for the British. After initially succeeding in installing their preferred ruler, a popular uprising led to a disastrous retreat from Kabul. Thousands of British and Indian soldiers, along with their families, perished in the winter snows of the Afghan passes, a humiliating defeat that would haunt the British psyche for generations. It was a clear and bloody message: Afghanistan would not be easily conquered or controlled. Despite this initial failure, the game continued. The British invaded again in the Second Anglo-Afghan War in the late 1870s. This time they succeeded in gaining control over Afghanistan's foreign policy, effectively turning the country into a buffer state that would separate their empire from Russia's. They helped to draw the country's modern borders, including the controversial Durand Line, which divided the Pashtun tribal lands between Afghanistan and what was then British India, now Pakistan. This border has been a source of tension and conflict ever since. A lasting scar from the imperial map-making of the era, the lines drawn by outsiders had profound consequences for the people living there. The Great Game cemented Afghanistan's reputation as the graveyard of empires. The fierce independence of its people and the unforgiving nature of its terrain proved to be formidable obstacles for any foreign power. This period had a lasting impact on the Afghan political consciousness. It fostered a deep suspicion of foreign intervention and a powerful sense of national pride rooted in resisting outside control. The legacy of being a pawn between great powers would continue to shape Afghanistan's destiny, creating a pattern of conflict that would, sadly, repeat itself in the century that followed, with new players, but with the same devastating consequences for the Afghan people. In April 1978, Afghanistan's government was overthrown in a violent coup by the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, a pro-communist party. They initiated radical reforms, including land redistribution and changes to marriage customs, which clashed violently with the country's deeply traditional and religious society. These policies were enforced with brutality, leading to widespread resistance across the countryside. The new government, plagued by internal power struggles and facing a growing rebellion, turned to its powerful northern neighbor, the Soviet Union, for support. This fateful request would set the stage for another devastating chapter in Afghanistan's history of foreign intervention. On Christmas Eve of 1979, the Soviet Union made a critical decision. Fearing the collapse of the communist government and the potential rise of an Islamist state on its southern border, Moscow sent in its 40th Army. The official reason was to stabilize the country at the invitation of the Afghan government. In reality, it was a full-scale invasion. Soviet tanks rolled into Kabul and other major cities, while airborne troops seized strategic locations. The Soviets hoped for a quick operation to prop up a friendly regime, but they soon found themselves embroiled in a long and brutal war against a determined and widespread insurgency. The Great Game had returned, with a new set of players. The invasion transformed the local resistance into a national holy war, or jihad. The Afghan people, from all ethnic groups and walks of life, rose up to fight the foreign invaders and their puppet government in Kabul. These fighters became known as the Mujahideen, or Holy Warriors. They were poorly equipped at first, fighting a modern superpower with old rifles and sheer determination. The conflict was incredibly brutal. The Soviet military used its overwhelming firepower, including helicopter gunships and heavy bombing, to crush the rebellion. They targeted villages, destroyed crops, and laid millions of landmines, causing immense suffering for the civilian population. The war dragged on for nearly 10 years. It became the Soviet Union's Vietnam, a bloody and expensive quagmire that they could not win. The conflict caused unimaginable devastation. Over 1 million Afghans lost their lives. Millions more were forced to flee their homes, becoming refugees in neighboring Pakistan and Iran, creating one of the largest refugee crises in the world at the time. The infrastructure of the country was shattered, and an entire generation grew up knowing nothing but war. In 1989, the last Soviet soldier finally withdrew in defeat, leaving behind a country that was armed to the teeth, deeply traumatized, and on the brink of an even more destructive civil war. The Soviet invasion united a fractured Afghan society against a common enemy. The Mujahideen were not a single unified army. They were a loose alliance of many different factions, often based on regional, ethnic, or tribal loyalties. Leaders like the charismatic Tajik commander Ahmad Shah Massoud, known as the Lion of Panjshir, and the Pashtun scholar-turned-fighter Gulbuddin Hekmatyar rose to prominence. These groups operated independently in their own territories, using their intimate knowledge of the mountainous terrain to wage a highly effective guerrilla war against the technologically superior Soviet army. Their bravery and tenacity became legendary, capturing the imagination of the world. The conflict in Afghanistan quickly became a major front in the Cold War. The United States, determined to see the Soviet Union defeated, viewed the Mujahideen as freedom fighters resisting communist expansion. Through its intelligence agency, the CIA, the United States launched one of its longest and most expensive covert operations in history. Working primarily through Pakistan's intelligence service, the ISI, they began to funnel billions of dollars in weapons and financial support to the Afghan resistance. This support included sophisticated weaponry, most famously the shoulder-fired Stinger anti-aircraft missiles, which allowed the Mujahideen to shoot down Soviet helicopters and planes, dramatically changing the tide of the war. Support for the Mujahideen also came from across the Muslim world. Saudi Arabia matched the United States dollar for dollar in funding, and thousands of volunteer fighters from Arab countries, inspired by the call to jihad, traveled to Afghanistan to join the fight. Among these foreign fighters was a wealthy young Saudi named Osama bin Laden, who would use his connections and experience in Afghanistan to build his own global network, Al-Qaeda. While this international support was crucial in defeating the Soviets, it also had long-term, unforeseen consequences. It flooded the region with weapons and introduced more radical, globalized Islamist ideologies that would later compete with Afghanistan's traditional forms of Islam. When the Soviets finally withdrew in 1989, the Mujahideen were hailed as heroes who had defeated a superpower. They had successfully defended their homeland and their faith against a foreign invader. However, their victory was bittersweet. The unity that had held them together against the Soviets quickly began to crumble. The different factions, now heavily armed and backed by competing foreign powers like Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Iran, had conflicting visions for the future of Afghanistan. The very fighters who had liberated the country were about to turn their guns on each other, plunging Afghanistan into a new and even more tragic phase of conflict, a devastating civil war. After the Soviet withdrawal, the communist government in Kabul, led by Dr. Najibullah, managed to cling to power for 3 more years. But in 1992, it finally collapsed. The Mujahideen factions, who had once been allies, triumphantly entered the capital. Instead of bringing peace, their victory marked the beginning of one of the darkest periods in modern Afghan history. The leaders could not agree on how to share power. Old ethnic and political rivalries, suppressed during the war against the Soviets, erupted with ferocious intensity. The liberators of Kabul became its destroyers, as different Mujahideen groups carved the city into a patchwork of warring fiefdoms. The civil war that followed was catastrophic. The capital city of Kabul, which had been relatively spared during the Soviet war, became the main battlefield. Rival factions bombarded each other's neighborhoods with rockets and artillery, killing tens of thousands of innocent civilians and reducing much of the city to rubble. The dream of a free and unified Afghanistan died in the streets of its capital. The population, exhausted by years of war, grew deeply disillusioned with the Mujahideen leaders, whom they now saw as corrupt warlords fighting for their own power and wealth, not for the good of the nation. The country descended into chaos, lawlessness, and despair. It was out of this chaos and disillusionment that a new force emerged in southern Afghanistan in 1994. They were a group of religious students, known as the Taliban, which means students in Pashto. Led by a reclusive, one-eyed cleric named Mullah Muhammad Omar, they presented themselves as a righteous movement that would end the warlordism, corruption, and fighting. Their message was simple: they would restore order, enforce their strict interpretation of Islamic law or Sharia, and disarm the population. For many Afghans exhausted by the endless violence and anarchy, this promise of peace and security was incredibly appealing, even if it came with severe social restrictions. With significant support from Pakistan and funding from other external sources, the Taliban quickly gained ground. They swept across the south and west of the country, often meeting little resistance as local commanders either fled or joined their cause. In September 1996, the Taliban captured Kabul, forcing the warring Mujahideen factions to retreat to the north. They established the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan and imposed their austere and brutal version of Islamic rule. The civil war was not entirely over, as a new northern alliance formed to resist them. But the Taliban were now the dominant power in the land, bringing a fearsome new kind of order to a broken nation. The world changed on September 11, 2001. The terrorist attacks on the United States, orchestrated by Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda network, were traced back to the safe haven he had been given in Afghanistan. The Taliban regime, which had hosted bin Laden and his training camps since 1996, was now thrust into the global spotlight. The United States government issued an ultimatum to the Taliban: hand over Osama bin Laden and dismantle al-Qaeda's bases, or face the consequences. The Taliban, citing the traditional Afghan code of providing asylum and questioning the evidence presented, refused to comply with the American demands. This refusal set the stage for another foreign intervention. On October 7, 2001, less than a month after the 9/11 attacks, the United States, along with its allies, launched Operation Enduring Freedom. The intervention began with a massive air campaign, targeting Taliban and al-Qaeda positions across the country. On the ground, the United States adopted a different strategy from the Soviets. Instead of deploying a large conventional army, they embedded small teams of Special Operations Forces and CIA operatives with the Northern Alliance, the same Mujahideen factions that the Taliban had driven from power 5 years earlier. This combination of American air power and local Afghan ground forces proved to be incredibly effective and swiftly overwhelmed the Taliban's defenses. The Taliban's regime crumbled with surprising speed. By November, their fighters were fleeing Kabul, and by December they had lost their last major stronghold in the city of Kandahar. The war, it seemed, was over in a matter of weeks. The leaders of the Taliban and al-Qaeda, including Mullah Omar and Osama bin Laden, retreated into the remote mountains along the border with Pakistan, escaping the initial American onslaught. The world watched as a new chapter began for Afghanistan. In Bonn, Germany, Afghan leaders from various factions, excluding the Taliban, gathered with international representatives to chart a course for a new post-Taliban government and a democratic future. The initial mission to oust the Taliban and dismantle al-Qaeda was a swift military success. It brought an end to a brutal regime and a sense of justice to a world still reeling from the 9/11 attacks. However, the mission soon expanded. The international community, led by the United States, embarked on an ambitious project of nation-building. The goal was no longer just about counterterrorism, it was about transforming Afghanistan into a stable democratic state with a modern economy, functioning institutions, and respect for human rights, particularly for women. This new, far more complex mission would prove to be an immense challenge, beginning a 2-decade-long American and NATO presence in the country. The fall of the Taliban in 2001 ushered in an era of unprecedented change and international investment in Afghanistan. A new constitution was written, establishing the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. Presidential and parliamentary elections were held, giving millions of Afghans their first taste of democracy. A new Afghan National Army and police force were trained and equipped by NATO forces. Billions of dollars in foreign aid poured into the country, funding the construction of schools, hospitals, and roads. For the first time in a generation, there was a sense of hope and possibility for a different, more peaceful, and prosperous future for the nation. The progress, particularly in social terms, was significant. Women and girls who had been brutally oppressed under the Taliban experienced newfound freedoms. Millions of girls returned to school, and women re-entered public life as doctors, teachers, politicians, and entrepreneurs. A vibrant independent media scene flourished, with dozens of newspapers, radio stations, and television channels. In the cities, a new generation grew up with access to the internet, mobile phones, and global culture. These changes were transformative, creating a society that was vastly different from the one the Taliban had ruled. This new reality represented the hopes of many for a modern, open Afghanistan. However, this progress was fragile and uneven. The new government was plagued by systemic corruption, and its authority barely extended beyond the major urban centers. In the countryside, many felt left behind, seeing little benefit from the foreign aid, which was often mismanaged. The Taliban, after their initial defeat, regrouped in their sanctuaries in Pakistan and launched a persistent and deadly insurgency. Using tactics like suicide bombings and roadside bombs, they waged a relentless war against the Afghan government and its international partners. The conflict never truly ended. It simply entered a new grinding phase, claiming tens of thousands of Afghan and international lives. For 2 decades, Afghanistan existed in this state of duality. In the cities, a fragile republic was being built, supported by a massive international presence. In the rural areas, a brutal war continued to rage, fueled by the Taliban insurgency. The United States and its allies were caught in a long, costly conflict with no clear end in sight. They were trying to build a nation while simultaneously fighting a war, a task that proved to be immensely difficult. The republic they supported was entirely dependent on foreign military and financial aid, leaving many to wonder what would happen if or when that support was finally withdrawn. In February 2020, the United States, under the Trump administration, signed a withdrawal agreement directly with the Taliban in Doha, Qatar. The deal set a timeline for the complete withdrawal of all foreign forces from Afghanistan. In exchange, the Taliban pledged to prevent terrorist groups from using Afghan soil and to enter into peace talks with the Afghan government. However, these talks faltered, and the Taliban continued their attacks on Afghan security forces, seeing the deal as a victory and a sign of their imminent return to power. The stage was set for the final dramatic collapse of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. In the summer of 2021, as the final United States and NATO troops began their withdrawal, the Taliban launched a stunning countrywide military offensive. The Afghan National Army, which the United States had spent 2 decades and billions of dollars to build, collapsed with breathtaking speed. Plagued by corruption, poor leadership, and plummeting morale after their international backers left, entire provinces fell to the Taliban in a matter of days, often without a fight. The speed of the collapse shocked the world and the Afghan people, many of whom had believed the republic, for all its flaws, would be able to stand on its own. On August 15, 2021, Taliban fighters entered the capital, Kabul, facing no resistance. President Ashraf Ghani fled the country and the government disintegrated. The 2-decade-long American-led experiment in Afghanistan was over. The scenes that followed were heartbreaking. Desperate Afghans, particularly those who had worked with the foreign forces or who feared the return of the Taliban's brutal rule, swarmed the Kabul International Airport, hoping to catch one of the last evacuation flights out. The chaotic and tragic withdrawal marked a painful and humiliating end to America's longest war, leaving behind a country once again under the absolute control of the Taliban. The return of the Taliban plunged Afghanistan into a new era of uncertainty and crisis. The progress made over 20 years, especially in the areas of women's rights and personal freedoms, was immediately rolled back. The country faced economic collapse as foreign aid was cut off and a severe humanitarian crisis ensued. The struggles of the Afghan people entered a new, painful chapter, defined by international isolation, economic hardship, and the loss of basic human rights. The cycle of history had once again turned in this land of enduring conflict, leaving the world and especially the Afghan people to grapple with the profound and tragic consequences. In the heart of Afghanistan, in a valley of breathtaking beauty, stand 2 colossal empty niches carved into a sandstone cliff. For more than 1,500 years, they held the magnificent Buddhas of Bamiyan, silent witnesses to the passage of empires, religions, and countless generations. They were more than just statues. They were a symbol of Afghanistan's rich pre-Islamic heritage, and its history as a place of tolerance and cultural fusion. Their presence connected this isolated valley to a global history of art and faith. To stand before them was to feel the weight of centuries, to understand that this land was once a peaceful center of enlightenment, a beacon on the Silk Road that welcomed travelers and pilgrims from afar. In March of 2001, the world watched in horror as the Taliban regime turned its cannons and explosives on these ancient masterpieces. The destruction was a deliberate act of cultural annihilation, an attempt to erase a chapter of history that did not fit their austere and rigid ideology. For the local people, many of them Hazaras who had long revered the statues as part of their landscape and identity, it was an act of profound violence against their soul. An old man from the valley recalls the explosions, his voice heavy with sorrow. He speaks not of losing a statue, but of losing a part of the valley itself, a familiar guardian that had watched over his ancestors and his own childhood, now gone forever. Today, the empty niches are not just a void, they have become a powerful monument in their own right. They are a testament to loss, a scar on the landscape that forces all who see it to bear witness to what was destroyed. The absence is a deafening presence, speaking volumes about the fragility of heritage and the cost of intolerance. Yet standing in this quiet valley there is not only pain but also a strange, resilient beauty. The caves that honeycomb the cliff face, once home to monks, still hold faint traces of ancient frescoes. The spirit of the place endures, a quiet defiance against those who sought to extinguish it, a reminder that memory is harder to destroy than stone. The story of Bamiyan is a story of Afghanistan itself. It is a tale of magnificent creation followed by brutal destruction, a cycle of beauty and pain that has defined so much of its history. International organizations now work with local communities to preserve what remains, and at night, 3D light projections sometimes fill the void, momentarily resurrecting the Buddhas in ghostly form. This act is not about replacing what was lost but about refusing to forget. It is a declaration that even when faced with the deepest, most painful absence, the human spirit will always seek to remember, to rebuild, and to find a way to honor the beauty that once was. For generations of children in Afghanistan, the sky has offered a canvas for dreams, a wide-open space of freedom in a land often constrained by conflict. The tradition of kite flying, or Gudiparanbazi, is more than just a game. It is a passionate, highly competitive art form and a vital part of the culture. In winter, when the winds are strong, the rooftops of Kabul come alive with kite runners, children and adults alike, who engage in fierce aerial battles. They coat their strings with crushed glass, aiming to cut the lines of their rivals. Each fallen kite is a prize, chased down by fleets of children running through the city's streets, their laughter echoing through the narrow alleyways. This simple act of joy has persisted through the darkest of times. A man, now in his 40s, recalls his childhood during the Soviet War and the subsequent Civil War. He speaks of how kite flying was an escape, a way to reclaim a piece of normalcy amidst the chaos. The sky, often filled with the terrifying sight of helicopters or the smoke from rocket attacks, could be transformed, even for a few hours, into a battlefield of a different kind, one of color, skill, and youthful exuberance. The kites were a vibrant symbol of defiance, a splash of beauty against a backdrop of gray rubble and fear. They represented a childhood that refused to be entirely stolen by war. The Taliban's first rule in the 1990s brought an end to this cherished tradition. They banned kite flying along with music and other forms of entertainment, deeming them un-Islamic. The skies above Kabul fell silent, stripped of their dancing colors. This prohibition was felt as a profound loss, another theft of joy from a population that had already endured so much suffering. It was an attempt to control not just the bodies of the people, but their spirits as well. For the children of that era, a kite became a secret symbol of a forbidden freedom, a memory of a more colorful time that they hoped would one day return. When the Taliban fell in 2001, the kites immediately reappeared, soaring into the sky as if released from a long imprisonment. It was a visual declaration of liberation, a joyful reclaiming of the city's soul. The story of the kite runners is a microcosm of the Afghan struggle. It is a story of how, even when faced with unimaginable hardship and oppression, people find ways to hold on to the small things that bring them happiness and a sense of identity. It shows that the human spirit, especially the spirit of a child, has a remarkable capacity to find light and beauty, to paint its dreams upon the sky, no matter how turbulent the world below may be. In the story of modern Afghanistan, no struggle has been more emblematic of the battle for the nation's soul than the fight for the rights and education of women. For 2 decades, following the fall of the first Taliban regime, a window of opportunity opened. A generation of women and girls seized it with both hands. They flooded into schools and universities, hungry for the knowledge that had been denied to them. They became doctors, lawyers, journalists, artists, and politicians, their voices and talents contributing to the rebuilding of their nation. Their progress was a beacon of hope, a symbol of a new Afghanistan that was striving to be more inclusive and just. We listen to the story of one such woman. She speaks of the sheer joy she felt on her first day of school after 2001, the weight and promise of the books in her hands. She excelled in her studies, dreaming of a career where she could serve her community. Her journey was not easy. She faced resistance from conservative relatives and the constant threat of violence from insurgents who targeted educated women. Yet her determination, and that of millions like her, was unwavering. They were not just pursuing personal ambitions, they were fighting for the future of their country, believing that no nation can prosper when half of its population is left behind in darkness. With the return of the Taliban in 2021, that window slammed shut. Girls were once again barred from attending secondary school and university. Women were pushed out of public life, their dreams shattered, their voices silenced. The progress of 20 years was systematically dismantled, plunging millions into despair. But the spirit of resistance did not die, it simply went underground. Brave women started secret schools in their homes, risking everything to provide an education for the next generation of girls. They knew that knowledge, once gained, can never be truly taken away. It becomes a part of you, a seed that can lie dormant, waiting for the right conditions to grow again. This woman's story is one of heartbreaking loss, but it is also one of incredible courage and resilience. She continues to teach in secret, her voice a quiet but powerful act of defiance. She represents the unyielding spirit of Afghan women who refuse to be erased. They are the guardians of hope, the keepers of a vision for a different future. Their fight is a testament to the profound truth that the desire for freedom and knowledge is a fundamental human need, one that cannot be extinguished by decrees or by force. It is a voice that, however suppressed, will never be completely silenced, waiting for the day it can be heard once more. For more than 40 years, the constant companion of the Afghan people has been war. Its presence is etched into the landscape, visible in the ruined buildings and the fields still seeded with landmines. But the deepest scars are the ones that cannot be seen. They are the ghosts of war that live within the minds and hearts of the people. Nearly every family in Afghanistan has been touched by loss. A father, a brother, a son, or a daughter killed in the seemingly endless cycles of violence. This collective grief is a heavy burden, a silent sorrow that permeates daily life, shaping the outlook of an entire nation that has known little else but conflict. We meet a man who fought in the army of the former republic. He speaks of the friends he lost in battle, their faces forever imprinted in his memory. He talks about the trauma of combat, the difficult transition back to civilian life, and the struggle to find his place in a country that, collapsed around him. His pain is compounded by a sense of betrayal, a feeling that his sacrifices and those of his comrades were for nothing. His story is not unique. It is shared by hundreds of thousands of former soldiers, mujahideen fighters, and ordinary people who have witnessed and survived unspeakable horrors. The psychological toll of decades of war is immeasurable, a national trauma that will take generations to heal. The physical reminders of war are everywhere. Afghanistan is one of the most heavily mined countries in the world. Thousands of people, many of them children, have been killed or maimed by these hidden remnants of past conflicts. The sight of amputees is tragically common in the streets of every city and village, a constant living testament to the war's brutal legacy. For these survivors, the war never ends. Every day is a struggle with disability, with poverty, and with the memory of the moment their lives were changed forever. Their resilience is astonishing, but their suffering is a profound indictment of the wars that have ravaged their homeland for so long. Yet, even amidst this landscape of pain, there are stories of profound compassion and humanity. Communities come together to support the families of the fallen. Organizations work tirelessly to clear landmines and provide prosthetic limbs and rehabilitation for the injured. People find ways to cope, to carry on, and to honor the memory of those they have lost, not with vengeance, but with a deep and desperate yearning for peace. The ghost of war is a haunting presence, but the story of the Afghan people is also the story of their struggle to live with that ghost, to find a way to heal the wounds of the past, and to build a future where their children will not have to endure the same pain. In a country defined for so long by its struggles, it can be easy to overlook the persistent search for beauty and hope. But even in the most difficult circumstances, the human spirit finds ways to cultivate joy. This hope is not a grand, abstract idea. It is found in small, tangible acts of creation and community. It is a street artist turning a concrete blast wall into a canvas for a colorful mural, replacing an image of war with one of peace. It is a poet sharing verses in a small, hidden gathering, keeping a tradition of literary beauty alive against all odds. These acts are powerful affirmations of life, a refusal to let the narrative of Afghanistan be defined solely by destruction. Hope is also found in the enduring bonds of community. It is a group of neighbors pooling their meager resources to help a family in need. It is a teacher holding a secret class in her living room, planting the seeds of knowledge in young minds. It is an elder mediating a local dispute, choosing reconciliation over conflict. These are the quiet acts of resilience that form the true backbone of Afghan society. They are the threads that hold the social fabric together when political structures fail. This deep-seated sense of mutual responsibility is a form of beauty in itself, a testament to a collective strength that has allowed the people to survive decades of turmoil. The natural landscape of Afghanistan remains a powerful source of solace and inspiration. After the harshness of winter, the arrival of spring or Nowruz brings a burst of life and color that feels like a promise of renewal. The almond blossoms in the valleys, the greening of the hills, and the sweet taste of the first mulberries are simple but profound pleasures. They connect the people to the rhythms of the land, reminding them that even after the longest and darkest seasons, life returns. This enduring beauty of the earth is a source of pride and a symbol of a nation that, despite its wounds, remains fundamentally beautiful and alive. Ultimately, the stories of pain and beauty in Afghanistan are deeply intertwined. They cannot be separated. The beauty is made more poignant by the pain that surrounds it, and the pain is made more bearable by the persistent search for beauty. It is in the laughter of a child flying a kite over a scarred city, in the determined face of a woman fighting for her rights, and in the resilience of a community that refuses to give up. The hope for Afghanistan lies not in grand political solutions, but in these millions of small, courageous acts of living. They are the seeds of hope, planted in the rubble, waiting for the chance to grow into a lasting peace. As we reach the conclusion of our journey through Afghanistan's epic story, one truth emerges with undeniable clarity. The single greatest resource of this nation is the spirit of its people. We have witnessed a history marked by the rise and fall of great empires, by golden ages of artistic creation, and by devastating periods of war and destruction. Through every chapter, through every trial, the Afghan people have demonstrated a capacity for resilience that is nothing short of extraordinary. This is not a resilience born of choice but of necessity. It is a quality that has been forged in the crucible of hardship, passed down through generations as an essential tool for survival in a land that has seldom known peace. This spirit is not just about enduring hardship, it is about actively rebuilding in its wake. It is the farmer who, after his fields are destroyed by drought or conflict, finds the strength to plant his seeds once more, holding on to the simple faith that the earth will provide. It is the shopkeeper in a bombed-out marketplace who clears away the rubble and reopens his small business, determined to restore a semblance of normalcy to his community. This resilience is a quiet, daily act of defiance against despair. It is a refusal to surrender to the forces of chaos, a deeply ingrained belief that life must and will go on, no matter the obstacles placed in its path. This unbreakable spirit is woven into the very fabric of Afghan culture. It is present in the sacred code of hospitality, Melmastia, where a stranger is welcomed and protected even in times of scarcity, a powerful affirmation of human connection over conflict. It is heard in the soulful refrains of the rhubarb and in the timeless verses of poetry that speak of love and loss, but also of steadfastness and hope. It is seen in the intricate patterns of a hand-woven carpet, where every knot is a testament to patience and the creation of beauty in a world that often seems intent on its destruction. These cultural anchors provide strength and continuity in turbulent times. As Afghanistan faces its current immense challenges, it is this inherent resilience that provides the most profound reason for hope. The political landscape may be uncertain and the economy may be in crisis, but the character of the people remains a constant. They have weathered storms before, from the Mongol hordes to modern superpowers, and have always found a way to carry their identity and their culture forward. The future of Afghanistan will not be determined by outside forces or by any single regime, but by the cumulative strength and enduring spirit of its 38 million people, who have proven time and again that they cannot be broken. The future of any nation lies in the dreams of its youth. And in Afghanistan, this truth carries a particular weight. More than 60% of the population is under the age of 25. This is a generation that has grown up in the shadow of war, yet many also tasted the possibilities of a more open world. They have been connected to global culture through the internet and have been exposed to ideas of freedom, education, and self-determination. Their aspirations are not so different from those of young people anywhere in the world. They dream of peace, of getting an education, of finding a good job, and of building a better life for themselves and their families. These dreams are now under severe threat. For young women and girls, the doors to education and public life have been cruelly shut, their ambitions confined to the four walls of their homes. For young men, the future is a landscape of economic collapse and limited opportunities, a struggle for basic survival. Yet, the dreams themselves have not died. A dream once planted in the mind is a difficult thing to uproot. The young woman who once dreamed of being a doctor still holds that desire in her heart. The young man who hoped to be an engineer still looks at the world with a creator's eye. Their potential represents the country's greatest untapped resource. The hope for Afghanistan's next chapter rests on whether this generation's energy and aspirations can be harnessed. They are a generation that is weary of the conflicts of their fathers and grandfathers. They are less bound by the rigid ethnic and political divisions that have caused so much bloodshed. They see themselves as Afghans first and foremost. In secret classrooms, in quiet conversations, and in online forums, they continue to learn, to connect, and to imagine a different kind of future for their country. One based on knowledge, innovation, and peaceful coexistence, rather than on ideology and force of arms. This generation is a ticking clock. If their dreams are continually denied, their hope may curdle into despair or anger, fueling future cycles of conflict. But if a path can be found to unlock their potential, they could lead their nation out of the darkness. The international community and Afghanistan's current rulers face a profound choice: to invest in this generation, to provide them with the tools of education and opportunity, or to abandon them. The fate of the next chapter in Afghanistan's long and turbulent story will ultimately depend on the answer to that question and on the enduring power of dreams in the face of adversity. Afghanistan has long been a stage for the ambitions of others, a battleground for foreign armies and competing ideologies. The world has played a central role in shaping its modern history, often with devastating consequences. Now, as the nation faces a humanitarian crisis and international isolation, the world cannot simply turn away. A stable, peaceful Afghanistan is not just in the interest of the Afghan people, it is in the interest of the entire region and the world. This does not mean military intervention or imposing outside solutions which have repeatedly failed. It means engaging with the reality on the ground in a principled and pragmatic way, putting the needs of the Afghan people first. The path forward requires a sustained and humane commitment from the international community. This includes providing critical humanitarian aid to prevent famine and the collapse of the healthcare system. It means finding creative ways to support education, especially for girls, even in the most challenging circumstances. It also involves holding the current rulers accountable to basic international norms of human rights, while keeping lines of communication open. Ignoring Afghanistan will solve nothing. It will only deepen the suffering of its people and create a vacuum that could be filled by even more extreme and dangerous forces, repeating the tragic cycles of the past. It is a path that demands patience and long-term vision. For the people of Afghanistan themselves, the path to a lasting peace must come from within. It requires a difficult process of national reconciliation, a willingness to look beyond the bitter divisions of the past 4 decades. It means building a society that is inclusive of all its diverse ethnic and religious groups, and one that recognizes the fundamental rights and potential of all its citizens, both men and women. This is a monumental task, but it is the only way to break the cycle of violence. Peace cannot be sustained by force. It must be built on a foundation of justice, mutual respect, and a shared vision for the future of the nation. The story of Afghanistan is not over. It is a story of profound sorrow, but also of breathtaking beauty and incredible strength. It is a human story that should resonate with us all. The hopes for its future lie in the unbreakable spirit of its people, in the dreams of its young generation, and in the possibility of a new relationship with the world, one based not on conflict, but on a shared humanity. The sun sets on this chapter of Afghan history, but as it has for millennia, it will rise again tomorrow. The question that remains, for Afghans and for the world, is what kind of day will it illuminate? The answer is yet to be written.